I'm sharing the things that I learned the hard way so you don't have to. I decided that I'm going to talk to you about 3 lessons I learned, one for each book, and specific to each book as I went along this journey. This is my first trilogy. There's book 1, The Unmarked Girl. This was also the first book that I ever written. Book 2 is called The Elk Queen. Thicker book, comparatively speaking. We'll talk about why. And this was its own journey. And book 3, The Melded Truth, which again was its own journey. And I'm specifically showing you these because, you know, I always have to pause and give mention to the incredible graphic artist, Israel Silva. Izzy, you're so incredible. Look at these. Okay, now I'm done. Okay, 3 lessons, one from each book of my first trilogy. And we start off with The Unmarked Girl, lesson number 1. I thought I had a really good way of saying this, right? But then I read Elizabeth Gilbert's Big Magic, that book, and she refers to something her mom says that really, I think, guided her path, and I wish someone had told this to me before I had spent a while beating myself up. Done is better than good. Are you hearing that? Do I need to repeat that? Done is better than good. Let's explain. So book 1, I had no experience writing fiction. This book, idea and story, and Yara, who's my protagonist, my main character, she came to me back in 2016, and it took me a couple years to really commit to letting her out. And the time I started writing to the time that I published the book was 3 months. Yes, crazy. But I had spent 2 years before that writing what was supposed to be a synopsis and ended up being about 17,000 words. It was pretty long. Through it all, I think the reason why I couldn't really end the synopsis and get to that point, aside from having all of these ideas, was I felt like I didn't have the qualification yet. I didn't have that knowledge. I did online courses, I did a lot of research, I really learned as much as I possibly could, and yet I didn't feel prepared or ready to do it. I had finished the synopsis the end of 2017, and I kind of reached this place where I said, okay, I had one major project to do for my job at the time. And I said, as soon as this is done, I'm going to really make a decision here. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to write this book? Yeah, I decided I was going to give it everything, truly everything. But how do you manage your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts, your projections of what other people are going to think when you don't think your everything is good enough? I remember trying to write the first 5 chapters of this book repeatedly, having Kevin McGuy, he's my studio developmental editor, rip them apart and go through all the reasons why it wasn't working, feeling a type of way, feeling my ego bruised, going back into it, eventually being able to push out a draft, having to go through that draft again. Needless to say, it was intense. I could have waited to release it, but I wanted to do this for my birthday, and I wanted to get it out at that point. It was a gift I wanted to give myself so that I had a personal deadline. There was a part of me that knew it wasn't going to be the best thing ever, even by my standards. I was learning to write fiction. I was learning all these various methods of structuring your paragraphs and motivation reaction units, and when they work really well and when they can be constricting, and there were so many things that I didn't understand about writing. But I knew that if I spent any more time trying to figure that out, those 2 years that I waited to even begin writing, they would have ended up probably being 5 years. I wouldn't have done it. That's the perfectionist in us. That's the part of us that always wants to believe that we could always do better. And you know what? We probably can. I am not saying that you should in any way put out anything that hasn't been copy edited, that you haven't had a developmental editor of some kind reviewing it, that you haven't taken criticism, you haven't made improvements. I'm not saying that it's okay to not try your best. My point is more along the lines of there were very harsh imperfections in this first book that may not have meant anything to anyone else but me. It wasn't good enough, but it was done. And done was better than good. Side notes, the fact that this became a Kirkus starred book, the fact that it won a regional award, the fact that it was even on Kirkus's list of best indie books of 2019 is enough to let me know that yes, imperfections are real, but if you have tried your best and you know within yourself that you've done everything in your power to do the right thing, then yeah, done is better than good. Go for it, put it out, push out that baby, get it done. You'll do better next time, and you will, I promise. Okay,